Good day, folks. Chris in central Pennsylvania, despite the south coast of South Africa as my backdrop. News 24 has confirmed that the South African whose vile commentary about Charlie Kirk led to the Department of State revoking their visa was indeed Nota Baloyi. This action comes after Baloyi posted in support of the assassination of Charlie Kirk last month. Now, Baloyi claims he was targeted, and the department's response is a form of censorship. It's not. Folks, why in the world would the United States Department of State waste energy on an unknown South African music producer? Riddle me that, Batman. Censorship? No. Speech is free, but it does not come without consequences. Just ask Alex Jones, who has to pay over $1 billion for his comments, or Ibrahim Rasool, who was Rasooled right out of the United States for racist comments directed at Americans and President Trump. As I reported last night, on the day that President Trump awarded Charlie Kirk the Presidential Medal of Freedom posthumously, the Department of State listed a series of tweets from foreign nationals in the United States who had supported the assassination, saying the United States has no obligation to host foreigners who wish death on Americans. Now, quick question. What is Nota doing in the United States? It's funny how so many clowns who insult the United States keep coming over to hang out here. I mean, like the Palestinians, whom we gave succor and refuge to over the past 40 years, who betray our values, mores, norms, and even our laws, that openly use our protected freedoms to undermine American security and peace. So a screenshot attributed to Baloyi, in which his identity and Twitter handle are blacked out, says that they're hurt that the racist rally ended in attempted martyrdom, and alleged he was used to astroturf a movement of white nationalist trailer trash. Now, Baloyi has since removed the post, but he has reshared posts that identify himself as the author of it, so he's admitted that he's done it. The tweet, which he posted last month, said Neanderthals can't have their cake and eat it. This weekend, they went openly anti-black racist, and now they're hurt that the racist rally ended in attempted martyrdom. Charlie Kirk won't be remembered as a hero. He was used to astroturf a movement of white nationalist trailer trash. Now, that's the full post that he's put up there, and interesting that it's much deeper. Trailer trash. Wow. Nota, glass houses, stop tossing stones. Baloyi confirmed that he'd received an email notifying him that his visa had been revoked on Friday. Ouch. Nota said that at that point, I did not know what the reason was. Now that I've got the reasons why, I'm relieved that's all it was. Relieved? Why? Was he up to something more sinister? Afraid he might get caught doing something else wrong? I mean, if you didn't do anything wrong, what are you worried about? He said it's completely unreasonable and is a complete violation of the First Amendment. I do think that I was targeted. No, not exactly. Notice how he cites our Constitution to defend his shameful social media post. It's unclear if he was in the U.S. when the visa was revoked, as News 24 only reported that he is currently in South Africa. The United States can revoke his visa. The First Amendment does not apply to South African nationals in South Africa. News 24 states that Nota is actually currently in South Africa and only intends to travel again next year, saying his visa being revoked is unlikely to hamper his plans. Well, if his plan is to come to America, it will hamper his plans. The visa's not coming back. Nota added that he did have the option to reapply for a visa should he wish to visit the United States. Well, that's true. You can tilt at windmills. There's no one stopping you. How exactly does he think that's going to go? Once the State Department revokes a visa, getting one in the future is nigh impossible, folks. I mean, look at the trouble we had getting Nelson Mandela in the country because he was listed as a terrorist for so long. He was on the terror watch list throughout his presidency. It took forever for the State Department to get him off that list. Baloyi said, I've noted the reactions in response of no more than 10 comments to a post which I feel were prompted by the State Department's announcement that they would be revoking visa of people who were reported to have made light of the incident. That allegation I categorically deny as neither intended nor implied. The post has been deleted. Deny? But you did post it. Much like when you were on camera calling white women genetically inferior and referring to white people as dogs who need to be put on a leash. Nota can deny it, but the intent was clear. And personally, I didn't like Charlie Kirk, but I never celebrated his assassination. That's simply ghoulish. Only 10 comments? Seems like Nota is paying a high price for being not so bright with social media. Now, Baloyi said he denounced political violence, adding that he had fled being a victim of such in my home country. Really? You fled political violence? Only after his racial remarks directed at white South Africans, he later suggested white people should be driven into the sea, only to try to disassociate himself from his very comment in the same video. And now for the truly bizarre, folks. This one just takes the cake. This one I find hilarious. Baloyi says, I'm an advocate for free speech, much like Charlie Kirk was famous for. And as a Christian with conservative leanings, I'm a supporter of President Trump, a first-day Trumper. What? If I were a U.S. citizen, I would have voted for Trump in 2016, 2020, 2024, and even 2028 if the constitutional amendment was passed. What you talking about, Willis? Somehow, I find that to be a little hard to believe. That said, I do not always agree with either Charlie Kirk nor Donald Trump, which is why I disagree with this decision. I have faith that with due process, this can be reviewed and rescinded. Well, whether you agree with Donald Trump or Charlie Kirk isn't germane. It's not about your views on their politics. It's what you said. And I, too, disagree with Charlie Kirk on some issues, but I've never said such vile things about him. Nota had due process. The State Department followed its rules. Now, commenting on the visa revocation, Nota said, of course, there are things that one is not free to say online. The curtailing of my free speech is something that I find objectionable. I believe that in this instance as well, I've been unfairly targeted. There are many more of what would be perceived as offensive posts that people complained about. Well, I'm sure that they'll go after those folks. And as far as the speech, it was not curtailed. Nota is free to leave his post on Twitter, but he removed it. That would seem to indicate that perhaps even Nota recognized that he went too far. No? Now, folks, in the interest of full disclosure, earlier this year when I was in South Africa, I appeared on a video. I was supposed to be doing a conversation with DJ Sabu, and I was kind of caught off guard when there was Nota Baloyi. And the video wound up being mostly a conversation between Nota and myself, which was not what was scheduled for. I wasn't told that. I found Nota in person to be very friendly, polite, and respectful. The impression I got from that day was that Nota is an attention seeker or that he just likes to stir the pot. Whatever the case, the captured South African Human Rights Commission's pathetic punishment for his racist remarks was disgraceful full apology, so insincere as to beggar the imagination. It is clear that Nota Baloyi learned nothing from that case. And that alone shows the illegitimacy of the South African Human Rights Commission, which serves no purpose in South Africa except to punish people based on skin pigmentation and occasionally pretend to punish people who are in the majority of the population. They dementedly went after Ronaldo Cruz, trying to bankrupt him over something he never did, knowing full well that the press ombudsman had sanctioned the newspaper who altered the video to create the impression. Now, here's the thing. The captured South African Human Rights Commission has never charged the Independent Line for its lies, its slander, its libel, and its altering of a video and taking things out of context to distort and attack a politician. You see, ladies and gentlemen, what the IOL did was an attack on democracy in removing and getting Ronaldo Cruz removed. And what the South African Captured Human Rights Commission did is a morally repugnant situation. They have lost all legitimacy. And the proof is here. Nota Baloyi said the most vile and repulsive things about white South Africans, white people in general, and he was only forced to issue an apology, which apparently, according to him, the South African Human Rights Commission wrote for him. All he did was add one word. That's his statement. I don't know if it's true or not, but that's what he claims. But the South African Human Rights Commission expected 500,000 rand from Steve Hofmeyr for a comment, which is free speech, because it defended them. They demanded the scalp of Ronaldo Cruz. But what about Nobs Mkhize? What's going on there? What happened to her? She endangered safety on an in-air flight, mid-flight. We don't know anything that happened to her. Well, Nota, you're entitled to all the speech you want, buddy. But as you said yourself, speech has consequences. And you use very poor judgment in posting this Twitter comment. And the State Department warned people that they were going to come after them if they did such things. Whether they have a right to do or not isn't germane. They did it. And now you find yourself without a visa. What say you, South Africa? Zanzi, South Africa. Cheers.